fascinating perspective from this beanstalk there. From a different angle, however, the Stockbridge School website actually allows any party, corporate or private, to give non-restricted gifts regardless of the company's or individual's track record. The money given is non-binding, or the money that will be given could be non-binding, meaning that if the school decides to take the money, Monsanto will have no say in how the Learning Center functions. And if I may add, as a quick side note, Stockbridge actually does teach techniques on growing genetically modified crops in their curriculum.
With that fascinating news, we will go now to our experts in the field from John Gerber's Agricultural Systems Thinking class, who've been following this story closely. This think tank, made up of talented young students, are calling themselves the Green Team and are determined to create the best possible agriculture learning center. Questions that have probed their research and made their green thumbs pulse. What does it mean to be a public university, and where are those sources of funding? How does money influence decisions, and how do you hold true to personal values with the influence of multiple perspectives? We first turn to Cole, Alexa, and Bex for some answers.
Hi, we think it's important when evaluating this gift to understand the current state of funding for public higher education, specifically when talking about funded projects. So we've seen historically in this country that there's been a general defunding of public higher education starting in the 1980s. And while this was a part of a general attack on public spending by the Reagan administration, it was also very much shaped by reaction to the opposition against Vietnam that was seen as manifesting on state university campuses in the 60s and 70s. So thus, we forward to November of this year, in which the UMass president, Robert Carrette, publicly states that the entire public higher education system is in danger of becoming privatized if there isn't an increase in state funding. Program funding for UMass in particular has been cut by almost half since the 1980s. And now state funding represents less than 25% of actually internally generated. And then we see at the bottom of this list private gifts for this $506 million figure represents less than 1% of that total. As for the ALC, the Agricultural Learning Center specifically, they're estimating that the barn movement and restoration is going to cost up to $5 million. And so if we talk about this gift of $10,000 made by Monsanto, that represents 0.2% of it. So when there's such a lack of funding for these projects, it's an interesting question of how the university is going to raise money to educate its students and keep its education cutting edge. So to unpack that, we move to Bex, special agent from Hampshire.
So, based on what Cole was saying, we decided to put together a model which we closely related to the limits to growth or limits to success models. So you can see that because of our lack of funding, which we can also call need for funding, as that goes up, our corporate funding, as our lack of funding goes up, our corporate funding is also going to go up. And as our corporate funding goes up, our lack of funding is going to go down, which triggers our public funding to also go down as our lack of funding goes down. And then with the public funding going down, our lack of funding will actually be going up again. And that seems kind of funky, but it triggers the whole system to play back on itself. So as the lack of funding is going up, the corporate funding is also going up, and it pulls us over here to stem off onto our reliance on corporate funding, which goes up because we are so often being funded by corporations. And as our reliance on corporate funding goes up, our public funding goes down. So you can see this reinforcing loop that kind of skips by public funding the whole time, and we just become super reliant here.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the consequences of relying on corporations. The Monsanto website says that Monsanto has agreements with universities that enable thousands of researchers to conduct well-designed, well-controlled studies and publish their results in peer-reviewed academic journals. But what do these agreements mean to the researchers? According to Joyce Locke, a graduate student at Iowa State University, if a corporation funds your research, they want you to look at certain research questions that they want answered. So if that happens, it's not like you can look at other things that they don't want you to look at. I think they direct the research in that way. Other students and professors at land-grant universities agree. They're often recommended to pursue research that a corporation would fund rather than research and ideas that they are deeply committed to. Relevant research is often evaluated based on whether or not it will get the attention of trade associations, private industries, and benefactors. This means that fundability becomes a key criteria in selecting research topics at universities. And if this is true, then research favors the wealthy and does little to address the needs of the middle and lower class.
So we start here with this model. Given everything that the previous group discussed, we had all these ideas going around in our head, but we need a physical way to look at it. So we have program development, and that's what we're trying to do here with the ALC. We have this idea to create a program, and it's got to be funded partly by the university. Certainly part of it, as this shows, is going to be from corporate and private spending. And then some of it could be from public or community spending. And so those all feed into program development. As you develop programs, the diversity of your programs within the whole Stockbridge School increases. So this is an S, indicating that it goes in the same direction. As the program diversity decreases, we'd like to think that the quality of the Agricultural Learning Center is going to increase. Well, one idea is that we implement a permanent student advisory board as part of an existing aspect of the Agricultural Learning Center, and it would have say over the diversity of the programs and ultimately the quality of the Agricultural Learning Center. You know, it gives students to have a voice and present their ideas about proper
We
ways to
believe
use
that
funds.
if we have these 2 points, we are going to have more representation of different sectors or different forms to do agriculture. And with my partners, I want to explain that part. But another idea for long term, we have here the dining common, and we have almost 40,000 students, and it could be a very good idea to involve the UMass community about to create a new way to do agribusiness.
So then our leverage point over here would be, as Nate said, a permanent advisory board, and there already is an advisory board that's in the works. Here's here, and he'll probably talk a little about it later. But essentially, we've kind of saw this advisory board as not only looking at the program integrity and diversity and the quality of the ALC, but also a way to kind of look at the gifts that private funding, university, and the public are giving to the ALC, and making sure, because we're not really in a position to deny money, seeing as we need $5 million, it's a lot of money. So to make sure that if we are getting money from all these different places, that it's going to be used in an effective way that adds to the diversity of the program and to the development of it, and doesn't sway how the Agricultural Learning Center will be used in any way. I have the actual mission statement. I think it's a work in progress for the ALC, and it's the UMass Amherst Center for Agriculture coordinates the work of faculty and staff members in academic departments at UMass Amherst. We create programs of integrated research and educational outreach that address public priorities and concerns. Our programs advance environmental quality, agricultural sustainability, and the viability of food systems from production to consumption. In addition, the center provides focused educational services to targeted individuals and groups in ways that advance the center's vision and goals. The center facilitates mutually beneficial exchange between citizens and the university and supports community access to academic resources. So what the ALC's goal is to kind of bring together this diverse amount of knowledge that we have at UMass in the interest of students, and make it accessible to the community and get more hands-on learning for the students who are here, so that when we're leaving, we have this truly unique experience that no one else has really had, where we're working with animals and we're working with vegetable crops, and they're interchangeable, and we're going about looking at the future in a totally different way. So the advisory board kind of has their own mission statement, and we've come up with just like something that we've thought about. It's short. The ALC Student Advisory Board aims to be a positive, consistent presence in the functions of the ALC to ensure that the ALC maintains diverse approaches to agriculture while safeguarding the integrity of individual projects and the long-term sustainability and resilience of the Learning Center. And then, along with that, we came up with some objectives that Neve's going to go over.
Yeah, so we came up with some objectives which will help just reinforce the mission statement, but also just like the ALC as like a leverage point in general. So I'll just start off. First one is to ensure that the center will be used equally by students, faculty, and community. And this is really important to maintain the diversity, but also to make sure that the people who help fund this project will be able to use it. Engage in healthy dialogue between diverse opinions on campus, which is really important because it's not, Stockbridge isn't just sustainable food and farming kids. There's also like biotech and turf, and they all have to be included. And next one is unite projects and combine projects where applicable, which will allow for a more like holistic approach. Like for example, sustainable food and farming major could work with a turf student to do some sort of like sustainable turf grass or something. And then to make sure that like student-based research ideas are implemented. Next is to analyze gifts and donated money. Next one, which is safeguarding the integrity of research projects, which pretty much means that like we can have like GMO crops or whatever, and we can have organic, but as long as they're pure and they don't contaminate the other, it's fine. But yeah. Next one, empowering students to become critical leaders, which is important. And then perform monthly and bi-monthly meetings with faculty and others working at the ALC, which is important because we want this to continue for like the long term, and meeting continuously will help achieve that. And also, and the next one is transparency of the ALC to the larger community, which is important because we want the public to be informed. And the last one is to maintain a diverse group of students. So yeah.
And then just one other last thing is we really wanted this group to not just be kind of like the police of the ALC. We also wanted them to have kind of like a celebratory aspect to it. So maybe hosting some kind of annual harvest dinner or something like that where the whole ALC would be open and everyone could come and share, what they've done over the year. So that would be like an added aspect to it as well.
Thank you very much. So the Green Team so clearly utilized a tool taught and lived by the infamous John Gerber, the systems thinking model. They thought of every aspect of the ALC controversy and came to an effective and practical solution. The Green Team consisted of diverse backgrounds with members coming from all over the country, various universities, majors, and interests. In creating the advisory board, the team hopes to facilitate conversations with other passionate students as the Agricultural Learning Center project nears. Edgar Foudre of Gloucester, Massachusetts, an enthusiastic and involved student at UMass, has shown interest in developing an advisory board as well, and will be a valuable resource in furthering the Green Team efforts. So stay tuned for updates and contact our group or Edgar for further information.
Yep, I think we're all going to be watching this story closely. We have all these different ideas, and it seems like the advisory board would be a great way to move forward.
Maybe 2 hours.
Absolutely.
Or
Try
DJ.
And our news at 10. Stay tuned. We have an exclusive interview with Chancellor Subaswamy. That's all for now. Thank you.
Questions or comments from